this is Sarah Kite with UT Extension in McMinn County. Hope you're having a good Wednesday afternoon. And I'm joined today with Dr. Katie Conrad from UT Extension. And in a few moments, we may have a special guest drop by to give us a few words as we try to cope with all this that's happening. So this is our great series we've been doing every Wednesday. If you want to, you can follow us on YouTube or our Facebook page, UT Extension McMinn County. So take some time to breathe this afternoon. It is Wednesday afternoon. Things are going crazy. Things might be going smooth. And we've been talking a lot about coping and how are you coping? How are you relaxing? Katie and I, we've really enjoyed our time with you. And today's series is on your emotions. Are you an emotional judge or emotional scientist? And we're going to get into the research of emotions and talking about it. So let me ask, how are you at talking about your feelings? Do you like to talk about your feelings? Have our series videos helped you with thinking about your feelings? Maybe learning more about the importance of talking and not just hiding your feelings, even during stressful moments. And I think we've been joined by our special guest. We are joined today by UT's president, Randy Boyd. And this is our Coping Corner series. So we're excited to have you. You're a great inspiration. You're a great motivator. You're a great encourager for the university system and also all of Tennesseans. So share with us any sort of encouragement or motivation that you might want to give today as we try to cope through all that's going on.
Well, thanks, Sarah. You know, I was going to say I wish that I could be there with you in person, but nobody's together with anybody in person, it seems, these days outside of your family. So I guess this is just the state of things today. But it's great to be with you virtually anyway, and glad to be able to share a few words with those that are listening in. So the University of Tennessee, like everybody, we've been having our challenges as well. We've had to send students away from the campus, still learning, still moving forward, but not being able to interact on campus with their faculty and their friends. It's been an incredibly big change for us, somewhat disorienting, somewhat demoralizing for some at times. So it's been a challenge both logistically and technically and emotionally for a lot of people. But at the same time, I think that it's been a really great opportunity for us to learn new things, to challenge ourselves in new ways and force ourselves to adapt that in ways that we might not otherwise have done so. We've been promoting online learning for some time. Some students are resistant, some faculty are resistant. Even though we've done certain things in the past well, there was so much more we knew we could do. As a result of suddenly having to adapt to this new environment, we accelerated every idea and every technology, and culturally we've accelerated. So as a result of this, we're going to be able to provide education in better ways and support students in better ways in the future. We're looking forward to getting our students back on campus and having an experience similar to what we had before, but it'll be different. It'll be different in better ways. So that's been a good thing. We've also learned to work differently. And I'm sure everybody that's on the call probably has been working from home. And two things. One, I found with my team here at the University of Tennessee system, 260 employees, that working from home is not the same thing for everybody. I've got it made. I'm a empty nester. My wife, for my birthday 2 years ago, rather than having my little desk in my bathroom where everything was before, I actually got promoted to a former guest bedroom. So I have an office. I have a desk, and I have it's like a real office, and it's right next to a gym. And downstairs, I can go down and have breakfast or lunch with my wife. So working from home has been really very nice. It's quiet, and I can go from Zoom to Zoom. But at the same time, I've got employees that are single moms with 2 young children that are in primary school, and they're trying to work off their kitchen counter. Their husband or wife might be, their spouse may be unemployed as a result of the crisis. And so their situation is incredibly different. So working from home is very different for each one of us and for our unique experiences. But again, but the exciting part is we've adapted really well. There are so many people that are probably, many people would say they're just as effective, if not more so, working from home. They can make more meetings, and we're learning also there's a lot of meetings that maybe we don't actually need to. I wish I was driving down to McMinn County. To be honest, I enjoy the drive. I enjoy being there. But we can do this very conveniently in 15 minutes, and I can be on another meeting with my board chair, which I have to be on the call with in 15 minutes. And it's actually easy to do. So in some ways, we're more productive. So from the way we educate to the way we work, things are different. Not always the way we wish they were, but in many ways they'll be better. And I guess I would just maybe conclude by saying that we, and you've heard me talk about this, we want to make this the greatest decade in the history of the University of Tennessee. And that's a bold statement. So we've had 225 years of incredible success. And it's also meant not as disrespect to those that came before us. I think they expect us to build on their foundation and make this the greatest decade. And I've had people, though, in the last couple of months, who just started talking about the greatest decade just within the last, this year, and the start of the decade. And I've had quite a few people come up and say, well, I guess that's out the window, isn't it? Now with the pandemic and everything else that's going on, I guess it's no longer going to be the greatest decade. I say, no, it's going to be the greatest decade, not in spite of, but because of the challenges that we've had. If you look at any decade, any generation that is recognized as being great for any reason, it's not because of how they took advantage of the good times. It was because of how they overcome the challenges. You think about what is typically referred to as the greatest generation in the 1940s. It wasn't in spite of World War II, it was because of World War II. They defeated the enemy, rebuilt their nation and the world, and that's what is their legacy. I think for us, this will be our legacy. As we look back 20 years from now, they look back on this decade, it'll be because of how we didn't give up, we didn't stop, we found ways to be resilient, overcame every challenge. And not only did we just overcome and get by, we actually got better and stronger as a result. So hate to sound so excited about a crisis, but in every crisis, there's opportunity. There's so many people that have lost their lives, and I never want to lose sight of that. But at the same time, we can use this as an opportunity to be stronger and better, and we will. Thank you. Did you have questions, or is there a question period here, or was it just me talking?
Yeah, President Boyd, I actually have a question.
Okay.
Hi. You have been such a wonderful champion of extension in the work that we do. We understand that you have visited almost all the county offices, and you really understand and see the value of extension out in the counties and translating some of the research and best practices to communities who most need it. And one area that obviously this series that we're focusing on is emotional health and helping build resiliency. And I think you really were in your last discussion talking about how resilient we are as a community at UT. But speaking more broadly for Tennessee in general, what kind of, what are the next steps for focusing in this area? I think the COVID pandemic, and then we're seeing it also with some of the riots and the racial injustices. And there's been a lot of discussion for talking about mental and emotional health and focusing in this area. So I just wanted to hear what you thought more broadly are the next steps for focusing on mental and emotional health in Tennessee.
Well, thank you. So last November, we created a statewide task force on mental health. And the comptroller did an audit of the University of Tennessee, and they made the comment that we need to do a better job of not only supporting students with emotional mental health, but in addition, communicating that better to the board. So we'd already started this process before their comment, but this kind of added extra weight to it. So we're going to be accelerating those efforts. There's a team that meets, a task force that meets every month. I've attended some of their meetings where they're looking at best practices and not just with the campuses, but with our extension as well, and how we can do more to serve not only our students and our faculty, but the rest of the state. With the extension, with our 95 offices. And by the way, last week I made 7 more, go to Southern Middle, which was great. By the way, I'm saying to McMinn County and everybody, but they do feed you well in Southern Middle. I had 2 banana strawberry shortcakes and a steak one day for lunch. They feed you well in Southern Middle. So I've been to 84 now. I got 11 more left to go. But I think our extension offices are all from 4-H to Ag to the FCS agents all have a role in being able to support their communities in mental health, and they're communication and some of the programs are critical. But as a system, we're going to continue to put a lot of effort toward initiatives to support mental health. And one of the things, and this is a very broad statement, not a specific program or action, but a very broad statement, the thing that has been evident in the past and is even more so now is just the importance of providing support and communication and connectivity. People are most at risk and struggle the most when they're isolated and alone.
Right.
In this pandemic, there's even more isolation. So one of the things we're all trying to work really hard to do is just to find ways to communicate. Doing more Zooms. I've had some of my supervisors and team leads talk about how they feel more connected in some ways than they ever have before. Because when people would come to their office, they go to the little cubicle, you might not see them for 2 weeks. But now we know that if we don't make an effort, then we're not going to see folks. So we're being more intentional, and in some ways, we're actually connecting more than we have in the past. With regards to, as you know, across the country, we have a huge racial tension as well. And one of the things we've also learned is, and been talking about recently, is just how we need to have more support services for different minorities within our campus. Mm-hmm. So every advisor and counselor, that we need to have diversity amongst them so they can identify better with the people that are needing their services. So that is an initiative and an effort that we're going to be able to make.
That's wonderful. These are so exciting, pros to the university and making it, as you said earlier, the best decade of UT. So we're really excited that you are on board with us, President Boyd, and we just couldn't be more excited for your leadership, taking us through the next decade or so.
Well, I appreciate that, Katie. As you can probably tell, I'm pretty excited about being here. It's just a great team to be a part of. And I love going to visit. My favorite thing, don't tell everybody else this is public, right? So I guess if by saying this, that people will, but the favorite part of my job is going to visit our Extension 8 offices. It's just seeing people that are on the front line, working with the community, making a difference, passionate about what they do. It's just really exciting, and always learn something new. Because I did 84 extension offices, everybody does it. Everybody's got the basic things that we do, but everybody does something just a little different, just because every community is a little different. That's also the beauty about extension, is that we're adaptive. We'll adapt to the community to make sure we're doing what that community needs.
Well, that was exciting. Everyone has different leadership of their businesses, organizations. We take pride with UT. We always have great research-based information. But it's like President Boyd was saying, you have to really address things. To cope with all that's going on, we have to recognize what's going on. We have to understand these feelings that people are having. He doesn't have any kids at home right now, and there are people who have lost jobs, single parents, and it's frustrating. It's hard. And, we have to sit in each other's shoes and think about how they're feeling, and to not judge their feelings, but understand them so we all can cope together. And as a university system, UT Extension is in every one of the 95 counties, and every county is different in their needs and resources, and we all want to try to adapt and be resilient. I really appreciate that leadership, and all of you that are listening, hopefully you have somebody that you can talk to, and sometimes you might have to work at finding maybe a new job if it's not fitting your lifestyle, because our lifestyles change, our family needs change, our employers change, things change. So we have to keep coping by adapting to the situation that's, been given to us. Before we move on from that, is there any other things that you like to point out, or things that you got from that, Dr. Conrad?
Yeah, I think his discussion of resiliency, it was implicit, but that's something that I focus on a lot in my work of ways that we can help support families, which is really the crux of what Extension does, is build resiliency, is to help families recover from crisis, or even if they're not in a crisis situation, here's, a better approach that's based on science for doing X, Y, or Z, whether that's in agriculture or raising animals or, raising children. And so I really appreciated he was speaking specifically in the context of the university, but it really translates beyond the university to the lives of Tennesseans. And we are and can be resilient. And that's the whole point of this coping series, is to help to give you the tools to stay resilient in the face of crisis. So.
Yeah, and we're really good at talking about, in these last few sessions, how do you feel? How are you feeling? Are you talking about your feelings? Are you hiding your feelings? Are you hiding stress? Are you, how are you doing that? So today we're going to shift a little bit to, do you understand how other people are feeling? Can you understand how they're feeling and why? Or are you so quick to judge that they're feeling this way, that they're just wrong, or, this just the intent to be curious, or the intent just to go to your room because you're out of control, your emotions are crazy, and just put them in a room. So many times we're just quick as a parent to react, you're making me go crazy. Just go to your room, just go to your room. Then you have to, be the scientist as an adult to understand, why did I have that blow up? It wasn't that big of a deal. Or you just judging quickly, like, don't cry, don't be sad, don't do this, So kids really need someone, an adult, a caring adult, to care about their feelings. And even from the college level down to the little baby, all children, all youth, even young adults, need some adult to care about their feelings and help them to work through it. We mentioned last week, you have to name it to tame it. Someone has to work with you through those emotions. So, I'll let you take the floor, and we're just going to talk a little bit about being an emotional scientist or emotional judge, and kind of how to do that. What does research say about it? So take it away.
Sure. I want to start off, first of all, and give credit to the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. I have been using a lot of their resources, and their Facebook page and their website in general. They are an excellent resource for anything when it comes to emotional intelligence and emotions. But specifically, this comes from actually a webinar that both Sarah and I sat in on that was just kind of mind-blowing. It was wonderful. And we will post the link in our resources later to that particular webinar and to their Facebook page, but we recommend following them. But I want to start off with doing a silent check-in. And I want you all to just think about some of the questions that I'm going to be asking related to how you handle emotions. And then we will get into kind of what the research says about that. So how many of you all do the following? When you have strong negative feelings, you immediately jump to judging them as bad or unjustified in the moment. How many of you all view emotions of yourself or others as a sign of weakness? How many of you all more often than not ignore your emotions? And some of you may even stuff them down, hoping that they will go away if I don't talk about it, if I don't think about it, and just ignore it. How many of you all try to immediately fix the emotions? You might be kind of that prone to being a fixer and that fix-it mentality in order to make them go away. How many of you all critique emotions into kind of two camps? They're either good or they're bad. And how many of you all have the view that emotions, or kind of just how life is in general, is it is what it is mentality? Things just never will change. So I'm doing this check-in because I want you all to think about, are you more on the emotion scientist side of things, or are you more of an emotions judge? And I'm going to estimate that the majority of you all are the judgmental side of being an emotion scientist versus judge. And we all have been very judgmental. And I think for those who are not really socialized or used to talking about emotions, and maybe have been grown up in a household where, what's private is private, it's not cool to talk about, it's weak, and you were kind of taught to keep that to yourself. And so a lot of what we learn in our upbringing can affect the way that we interact and communicate with others, and it has an impact on our mental health and ability to cope and bounce back when faced with adversity. So I want to share a slide from that particular webinar. And some of the questions that I just asked you in our silent check-in was more on the right side of the screen. Are you an emotion judge? And what we want to encourage you all to do is to adopt more of this emotion scientist viewpoint, seeing that emotions, they come and go, they're fleeting, and they're never here to stay forever. And being open and curious about how you're feeling. You know, I'm feeling upset right now, but what is it really? Is it immediately the event that made me feel upset at that moment? Or is there something deeper and broader, and kind of zoom out to see what might be contributing, all that's contributing to that emotion? And having this, I love this last one, having a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset, being curious and, building upon the skills that you have, and being more of an investigator and a scientist rather than kind of that it is what it is. What do you think about this, Sarah? How does this resonate with you?
Yeah, I love it. You know, I understand emotions. I can read books to my kids about emotions. Mine are 7 and 5. But as an adult, a caring adult, I'm very quick, I think, human nature to react to their emotion and to judge, but if I pick it down to like a scientist, you think about a scientist who's using a microscope to study a bug. I can see that stink bug and be like, oh, stink bugs, but to put it under a microscope and to see all the intricate parts of it that make it what it is, it's just, stepping back from that emotion that you're seeing or feeling, and to really study all the parts of that emotion and the things that kind of like a chain reaction, all the things that led up to this emotion, to then do something about it. Kind of like what President Boyd was saying, we have to study things, we have to think about it, and we have to work at it together, and then, have this game plan. Sometimes we just have feelings, but we don't study them enough to get to the point to make a game plan. Sometimes in our parenting classes, we talk about the triage moment. Your car breaks down and all this stuff happened, and you're just like trying to triage and put Band-Aids on it and fix things. And, your tire pops, you put all those plugs on it or whatever. But, what led up to that event, I can be a scientist and study it so that doesn't happen again, or that emotional breakdown doesn't last as long and throw me into depression and just get deeper. But to be the scientist, to study all the pieces of it, really could help us to be resilient, to not sink so far down in some of the emotions that, pull us down, but just really understand. And then that helps you understand that kid or that person better, to know how they react to things, because every person is different on how they react to things. And if you think about the science behind emotions, we can't control emotions, but I can control my reaction. So when I step on that little bitty Lego that I can't see in my rug, I can't control that emotion that's about to come out, because that hurts, but I can control my reaction. And so studying that in yourself and being curious and reflective and talking with your kids. And I just love the term emotional scientist. It really puts that into a different perspective as a caring adult for kids, no matter what age those children are.
Yeah, and I just to speak to that too, and helping on that journey of becoming more of a scientist, there are some things that you can do just within yourself that can help on that journey. So one of the things that Yale talked about was the way that you talk to yourself in your head. Are you one of those that shoulda, coulda, woulda type of people, when you think, oh, I should be doing this, or I should, and kind of judging yourself and critiquing yourself for not doing things the way that you think you should? And instead reframing it and being more encouraging to yourself and empowering to yourself, and accepting that we've got stuff going on and life isn't always easy, and kind of just giving yourself some grace. Using more positive self-talk and kind of seeing yourself in the third person. So treating yourself, if you were to give yourself advice like you gave another person. And then another thing they talked about was positive reappraisal. And this is really just kind of reframing the view of the situation and putting a different lens or spin on it, and seeing it more in that growth mindset that really is beneficial for your mental health and emotional well-being.
Yeah, and another thing that we want to share today with you, no matter what age your kids are, children need a caring adult who cares about their emotions and cares about their feelings. So from pre-K to college, all those kids are going back to school in the fall or not going back to school in the fall. And are we online? Are we every day? So they're going to have a lot of emotions of the what ifs, the unknown, the uncertain. And as a family unit, whatever your family unit looks like, we need to stick together. Some of the stuff we talked about maybe isn't something you know how to do, but once you learn, like today, you can learn ways to practice this, and then you can do it better. Our family growing up, we didn't talk about emotions. No one really cared about how I felt. And, I can play the blame game all day long, but if I'm more of a emotional scientist, I can think about who taught my parents. Well, my grandparents don't talk about emotions. They just shove it under a rug. Mm-hmm. Well, what about their parents? It's a generational thing, how you're taught, how you handle emotions and relationships. And so any generation, you can stop that cycle and do it differently. And that's one thing I love about my job and learning, is that I don't know how to do these things until I read and go to seminars and webinars and listen to Coping Corner. And then I know the value because I know the research behind how it really helps to make us stronger. So there's a really great activity that you've used called the Family Charter. And I think this would be really helpful for many families as they navigate life, no matter what's going on, but also you have things in the future that you might be uncertain about that might scare you. But remember, we have this family unit that we can lean on, that we can go to, that we can talk to, that can kind of be our cohesiveness and keep us together. So if you want to share that family charter activity, I think it'd be really great for a lot of families.
Absolutely. So this activity is an agreement that families collaborate together on that specifies the way each member of the household wants to feel. And then everyone kind of holds each other to that, a charter. So it's kind of like a mission statement, but it's even bigger than that. It shifts the culture of your household so that everybody's emotional needs are met. And in the instances that they're not, then you have some strategies written down in your charter on how to do that. So there's certain steps to doing this. The first step would be, it's just talking together as a family of how you want to feel. And then after you identify what are those, 6 or 7 emotions that you want to feel, what are some steps or strategies that we can do together as a family to make sure that we all have these feelings? And so that might be something about, communication. When I feel that my feelings are hurt, I want to be able to discuss it in a family team meeting immediately, so we can, talk through things and move forward. And so then it has some suggestions for how to put it together and how to keep the charter alive. This is something that you don't just make it once and then you never go back to. Constantly revise how you want to feel in the household and what strategies you're going to do that are age appropriate for kids, because kids are going to grow up and some of those old strategies may not work for them. And, and also just things change. There could be a global pandemic going on. There could be some other sort of family crisis that requires revising that charter. So this is a wonderful activity, and it was offered for free by Yale University. So we'll share this, again, the link to their website.
Yeah, I like those. And also, too, a great resource. We'll share this too, but SEL is a term that you might hear, social emotional learning, understanding your emotions and how to be social with them. So we have a really good book list, and it's divided by age, so you can pick your children's ages. Sometimes I try to help my kids through their emotions and talk about it, and they feel like I'm being too judgy, like I'm a know-it-all. So sometimes you have to, change courses and books. This is one that we use to talk and work it out, and it's a way for them to see someone else having this going on, and they can relate back to it. And then through the pages, you talk about it. What would you do before you flip the page? Cool down and work through anger. And this is a new one for me. It's called What Should Danny Do? And there's a whole bunch of stories within the book, and they stop, and there's two options that they can choose. One is a healthy way, one is a not so healthy way. And then depending on their choices, his path, his day is altered. And it helps kids realize that you have the power to choose. Me as an adult, I have the power to choose based on my reaction to a situation, not getting my way. I can react in a way that's going to make my day better, or in a way that's going to make my day worse. We all have that power to choose. And this book is really good with choices. It's full of choices. There's 9 different story paths in this one book. So we really enjoy that. And we get to a choice where it's like they want to pick the not good way to see what happens, but they feel bad, like their little conscience is kicking in. So it's a fun one. Jilly's terrible temper tantrums and how she outgrew them. Helping kids to realize you're doing better. You're doing better when you got so upset. So they can, recognize. But stories are really good at helping all of us to put things into perspective. Sometimes we're too emotionally invested in the situation, the moment, that we have to step back. So we'll also put that book list on there. There's some really great ones out there. Find some that'll help you, but reading really helps. The book list is pre-K through 12th grade. So even if you have those teenagers, they can also learn a few things every now and then. So I hope you all feel better. Hope that today was a help. Think about being a scientist or a judge. Think about doing a family charter. Maybe that might be a good activity that you do tonight or over the weekend. Think about it. Put some thought into it. There's a lot of books out there that you can order. You don't have to go out to the public bookstores if you don't feel safe doing that. But really think about the things we talked about. Let it sink in and have some discussions with your family, with your friends. And, let's be the generation that does it better. Every day we work at ourselves and making us a little bit better. So I appreciate everyone's time. Dr. Conrad, if you have any final thoughts or closing thoughts, go ahead. And we've really enjoyed today.
Yeah, you were just saying check in, and it just made me think of this. Check in with yourself, especially after when you are being more of an emotion scientist. How does that feel versus when you are being more of an emotions judge? Which color palm would you deposit into your jar? And I can say right now, after doing this, I feel pretty calm and happy and positive. So what's in your jar? So we really appreciate, I share that sentiment, your participation in our series, and we wish you very well, and we will see you next week where we will discuss a little bit more in detail social emotional learning. That's kind of my passion and a lot of the work that I do. So I'm really excited for that that video. But take care. Happy Wednesday.
Take care.